go, go, yeah, go, go,
Okay everyone, I just finished my very first session out in the water with these 2019 Slingshot Ghost Whisperer foil and the Hypermiler board. And I must say, it is phenomenal. Session number 1, I had so much fun out there. It's so forgiving, and already I'm going to tell you, this setup would work for a beginner foiler. Now, what's the negative to this setup? Number 1, I would say, price point. It is not a cheap foil setup. Number 2 negative. I don't have a number 2 negative. It is that good, and I'm only on day 1 of foiling with this setup. When I first sent my kite and came up, I was riding that bull for the first 5 seconds, and that was a feeling I remember all too well not too long ago, and a feeling that I don't want to revisit very often. But after just a few seconds, I made adjustments, and that kind of smoothed itself out. But I think the reason this is occurring is because this glide, this foil on the bottom of this Ghost Whisperer 91, it wants to get up on the foil. Low speeds, high speeds, it doesn't matter. It wants to be up on the foil. And that's long-term a really good problem to have. Now the Hypermiler board, to compare that to, let's say, the Slingshot Alien Air board, pretty large difference. This board, I just feel like you can walk around the top of it. I love the grip surfacing on it throughout the entire top of the board. It doesn't try to slip out from under you during transitions. I will say it does lack the volume, which is a good thing because it's less torque on your ankles on starts, but the negative is it's not as floaty. Now this problem is solved with the Ghost Whisperer 91 because it doesn't have to be that floaty, because right when you send your kite, that Ghost Whisperer 91, you're going to come up on the foil. So you don't need a lot of flotation on your board because of how friendly this Ghost Whisperer 91 is on getting up on the foil and staying up on the foil. Now let's talk about transitions. So just to revisit, I've been performing transitions on the water with just a water jibe on my Nobile split foil board, which is a very friendly board to perform transitions on. Now compare that today to this Hypermiler board, and I'm telling you, I'm going to surpass that Nobile in no time. So this board and foil setup, what I really love about it is when you get on your transition jibe carve, as long as you put a little bit of weight on your back foot, that thing almost stays out of the water. So you can send your board downwind and curl it around the corner. And at times today I was actually touching down at the beginning, but then staying on the foil all the way through the transition. And that was completely unexpected on day number 1. So this is going to be a positive in my progression for sure. That's also a reason I think that to say this setup is not for the beginner foiler would not be an accurate statement. I'm considered a beginner foiler, and I love this board after an hour and a half on the water. So speed of the foil. I'm going to be honest with you. Session number 1, I put my watch on it. My speed really never got over 16, 17 miles an hour, which was a lot slower than I was expecting because I was able to cap out around 19 miles an hour on my Nobile foil and on my Hoverglide foil. But I believe that progression is going to come in time as I get more and more comfortable on this foil setup. Now let's talk about the foot strap setup on the Hypermiler board. This is probably more of a personal problem than it is anything else, but this universal setting that they have, even though there's a little bit of variance in that and you can make some small adjustments, I noticed that when I came up on the board initially and I was riding the bull, I noticed that I felt way too wide. And so the change that I've made, the modification is, honestly, I'm going to leave that back strap on, but I'm going to ride with my foot out of the strap most of the time because I just feel like I need a more narrow base of support. And so most of the day, that's what you notice me doing is I would maybe do a start in the back strap, maybe not. But as I come up on the foil, I would definitely move that back foot onto the flat decking area without the strap on the board. And that works well for me. So maybe if you're a little shorter individual, you'll notice that is a good solution as well, not being as spread out on that board, even though that's the recommendation. When you do fall off of the board, a lot of times this board, it's such a light setup that what happens is this foil will actually stay horizontal on the water on its side. And so even though it will drift downwind, it won't drift downwind as quickly as a heavy aluminum foil will that kind of bottoms out and anchors and goes straight downwind with the board flat on the top surface. So I don't know, 30–40% of the time when I would crash and leave my board behind, it would stay on its side. So what are the pros of this setup? Number one pro, high performing foil. The Ghost Whisperer 91 wants to come up on the foil very quickly. It's very friendly. It feels very solid under your feet. You're able to walk over the top of the board and not worry about it shimmying or feeling like it's going to rock out from under you or shake out from under you. I never heard one sound from the foil. I never felt a shimmy, a shake, anything else. It felt completely stable my entire session. Another positive of this setup has got to be the board. I love this setup in combination. The board has a great tacky top, so you're able to walk over the top of it. It doesn't have too much volume. Whenever you're performing your transitions, this thing just doesn't want to slide out from under you. It wants to stay under you, and it wants you to stay connected. I would love to hear some of your comments about some of the portions of the review that I explained on the Hypermiler board and the Ghost Whisperer 91 foil. Give me some of your input. Tell me what you think you agree with, disagree with, ways that I can improve as well in progressing as a foiler. I would love to hear it. And we'll see you next time on the OK Kiteboarder.
Hey.